Hello, welcome to Santa Monica. I'm Nolan Gray, and I'm here to make an amazing opportunity offer to each one of you. My group is called Escape Realty, and I'm in fact a real estate agent for Escape Realty. I've been doing this for about 6 years, and I've got 4 little ones back home, a half one as my corgi Benji. I think you guys have seen him on my Instagram account. I want you guys to just think about what we've all accomplished in the last 32 hours and look at the person next to you and just say, you look really nice. You look really nice. You look really, really nice. All of you. Can I ask you a question? How many of you flew here? Cool. Did you rent that plane yourself? No, so you shared that plane. Why did you share that plane? It's cheaper. It's cheaper, right? So that is a fractional ownership concept. Like, you're sharing the responsibility and price point of owning a plane with a lot of other people and offsetting that in the price of a ticket. Did you build the space yourself? No, it was built by a team of people who all shared fractional ownership in that space. The classic quote is teamwork makes the dream work, as a memento to carry with you through the motivational posters you see in your bathrooms. How about another example of fractional ownership being movie making? What was the last movie you saw? I heard Gremlins 2 and John Wick 3. Good guess. How were those movies made? They were made through fractional ownership. These $50 million movies, such as Gremlins 2, required a huge team of people to come together and make these things happen. How much did you end up paying for those movies? Yeah, $10. $10. They're all cheap, relatively. That's another example of this fractional ownership concept. So, I've flown all the way out here from my headquarters in Florida, which is where all timeshare opportunities come from. And I just wanted to sell you something that I thought you would be uncomfortable with the price of. So you may be asking yourself, what does this cost? What could an opportunity like this cost? And it costs plenty. Costs plenty. I refuse to use some hardware for this, so it's a very expensive concept. But now that you know about fractional ownership, let's go through what it actually costs to own timeshare. The P in this is for presence. Presence is something that you can only evaluate by asking, how do I know that I'm here? Can I be somewhere else presently? How do I know that I'm not already in another place? Those types of spatial things can be subverted by the ability to project yourself through time using thought, either past or future. Race car drivers, for example, take in a lot of information, all 5 senses they check in during practice to make better decisions using all of that extra data. You can ask things for each one of those senses in order to be present. You can ask, am I breathing? Am I warm? Am I cold? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? Are my eyes rolling back in my head? Is the tongue pressed against the roof of my mouth as a stable to protect it from maybe incanting things that I hadn't prepared for? That brings me to listening, or L in plenty, and the cost of this timeshare. Listening, so many broken silences happen because of words. And words carry information that registers in a way that we can use to heal. But that healing often comes at an initial cost of being separated. And that is represented by the surgeon's scalpel, cutting in first to heal later, that we in fact can start putting those things back together through time sharing. And that happens through the scalpel of listening. And we may think of the act of cutting as separating two halves, but in fact, in the long term, those two things come back together through healing. Those divisions within timeshare are multifaceted and occurred well before the Great Construction, before the invention of the scalpel, before this amazing opportunity known as timeshare. Every perception being a separate unit that's born out of this illusion, but listening cuts that illusion away and bonds each section back upon itself. There is only one building in Escape Realty's property, and our maintenance department arrests entropy and keeps that building whole. When you sign up for timeshare, we promise to listen to each of your maintenance needs. Which brings me to the E. The E is for empathy. Throughout our property, you'll find many gardens and trees bearing fruit, vegetables, money, patience, and riparian delights from around the world and beyond. And those gardens have winding paths moving through them. And as you meander on those paths in infinite directions, the Escape Reality groundsmen, reality groundsmiths, will construct this network of paths that eventually lead to all other paths. So though it may look like it's going off in a direction that you can't imagine, by traveling that path, you will end up intersecting with all other paths. And because no one path can be more, better, or worse than another, because they are all infinite and all loop back upon themselves, when your path crosses these others, it's important that we stay curious, that we want to know where everyone was before we interacted with them on those paths. Those are the delights and the horrors that can only be understood through empathy. Which brings me to the N, which is nonlinear tactical agreement and disagreement. It's very important that we ask each other and engage each other in ways that we wouldn't have expected one thing to answer correctly. We can't expect to know what the correct answer is, and in fact, that frees us up to ask more interesting questions. So that's the nonlinear part. But the tactical agreement and disagreement is to just pick the things that you find interesting and dive into them with the other person when you come across them. So when you find these other fractional owners, it's almost like a dance, and you have to know that everyone else has paid plenty for their part of the timeshare. And it's important to learn to disagree and agree in a way that builds that community that we're trying to build here with timeshare. The T comes out of that, which is trust. And you know what's interesting? Trust has come up a lot through a lot of different talks and through individual conversations that I've had over these last couple of hours. And I believe that, you know, as we say at Escape Realty, that trust gets better with age. You've got to have these things, these neologisms. And at timeshare, the more you sign up for, the more time you get. So you take all you want because it's unlimited. You know, the best representation of unlimited time is probably the lunch buffet that we're all about to eat. So have fun eating all you can. That's the best part of it. That brings me to the why. And the why is for your ordinary life's over. Or YOLO, is that how the kids say it? YOLO, I think. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. As oxidization and entropy claims these mobile advertising tombs, which we use to spread dank dreams, we need more than ever to stretch into spaces programmatically generated to reinforce alternate and beneficent selfhoods, or self-keats. Escape Realty's timeshare brings together groups of fractional owners in a common desire to wander the grand gardens on infinite paths to shelters engineered by architects of universal history, the history that doesn't go away when you close your eyes. I hope that this seminar has piqued your interest and you're saying, I can afford Escape Realty's timeshare. In fact, I can't afford not to timeshare. It's a decision that will leave you saying, why didn't I do this sooner? I plan on leaving this investment to my kids and my grandkids, and you'll find informational brochures over there. And if you'll kindly raise your hands, I'll be happy to obfuscate any questions you have. Thank you.
Thanks, Nolan.